have a question for you. Why do anyone need the Enneagram? Why do anyone need to know about it, understand it, try to use it, or to know about it in general?
So it's a tool. It's like a map. You just like any other tool, it has some things that you can use it for and some things that you cannot use it for. So you can use it in order to better understand the process, the stages of a process, and if you know how to use it and you don't know all the stages of the process and you put what you know on the Enneagram, maybe you have a chance to find out the missing pieces, the missing stages. This is one thing. And the second would be that when you have some of the stages, you can see some relationships, some connections between the stages that maybe you didn't see before. So this would be another example. And the main thing I would say is you learn how to meditate in a ternary way. You learn how to keep inside your mind, inside you, more than one thing at the same time. You try to put the things...
That's not necessarily ternary. That's as good as multitasking.
Okay.
That's not necessarily ternary. Ternary implies an inner dimension, a third dimension, which is not necessarily there when you use multiple informations, be they 3 or 4 or 5 or 100, it doesn't matter. It's not about the number, it's about the depth.
Okay.
So just by itself, I don't think it's any tool can make you think ternary.
Fair enough.
Or operate ternary.
Fair enough. So maybe it will take you one step closer to that? Could we say that?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you, because I see no actual life effects in humans who study this this topic, and this is why I'm asking you. What use is for someone to use in their intellect such concepts in everyday life, and which is the life? So, but let's get to another point of discussion. I remember now that sometime in the past I read some opinions on the internet that Enneagram is something that can only be applied to the creation and maintenance of the world, and this is how, in my opinion, those who come in contact with it self-calm in front of its utility in everyday life and all that, the responsibility that it comes with it. So they say something like, this is about how the stars and the universe and the life has come into existence, and it's a mistake, or it is even stupidity to try to apply it in, I don't know, everyday processes. And I wanted to know what you think about that.
I think you can apply it to any process.
Why?
Because most of the processes have the same principles behind. They have some stages. The stages should have some connection between them. You start from one point, you end at another point.
This is the law of time you just have expressed.
Yes.
That the thing has multiple stages, this is time.
Yes.
That you start in one point and arrive on another, this is also time. So what you're saying so far is that Enneagram is time. It's how time operates.
Okay. So because of this, you can apply it to different processes.
So what do you think about the idea that, it's a physical law that everything, because of the law of entropy, everything decays in time. This is the very definition of time. So the Enneagram, as far as I know, states something similar, that without a particular intervention of energy from outside the process, everything decays in time. So as far as we look at it, Enneagram is time and how time operates.
Yes. Because one of the laws stated by Gurdjieff, let's put it like this, it's about the law of vibrations, also called law of 7, law of octaves. So according to this law, after the first 3 stages of the process starts to decay. You need another force, which usually means another process or another start of a process, and this will create another octave that will superimpose on the first one. So basically, in order to reach the end of the first process, you need at least 2 another small beginnings.
Okay. And as we know, oftentimes the external process that you need in order to continue is the intervention of others, because this is what it means, external often, and others are not responsible to it. This means that simply because of how humans are, I don't know, some would say that this is human nature, but I don't agree with that. I would say that this is gravitational human nature. Okay. And because of the gravitational human nature, it is almost inevitable that any process you begin to falter, to suffer, to be crippled, because the outside intervention of external shock, which is represented by the responsibility of others, will always be absent. Unless you meet some humans which are not gravitational, run by human nature, which are horizontal, which from the metaphysical perspective means angelic, or even ascending, which from the metaphysical perspective means magician or demigod. So it's only that an angel or demigod can help you. In principle, if that external intervention cannot be ensured by yourself also somehow, to become outside of yourself and to intervene upon yourself, so
that will also be crippled in a certain way.
In a certain way,
yeah.
Yes, but it will work because, let's face it, if you force others to help you, it will work because it will still be external intervention, and the process will go as something will be missing, because we are not here just for ourselves. That's an idea that is really present and common in a lot of places, from memes to deep philosophical texts, that we are not here for the sake of ourselves, and we are here for others, at least for, I don't know, 1/3 of the meaning of life. So
okay. So when you say horizontal, and that means angel level, you know, people fall, and then there is some horizontal there, and then they fall again, and some horizontal. So if you are lucky and you get to meet that person after he has fallen and he's on the horizontal, maybe there he can have an intervention.
So instead of an angel, you can count on someone who hit rock bottom life, and because of that is open to help others because they are so miserable.
Or they see it as the only thing that they can do there in order to change something.
Okay.
At least to get out of boredom.
That's real boredom or pain, yes. That's a really interesting idea, perspective.
So this, if we only think about human nature as the intervention of the outside shock, but maybe there are other things, like, I don't know, nature, or an accident in nature. I don't know.
That's great, because this is what we wanted to talk today about, the Enneagram of relations, which no relation would exist if we had to count on humans. So this is nature who provides the necessary shock. We're gonna see it later. Yes, there are processes which do not depend on humans. Fortunately.
Fortunately, yes. Otherwise, man.
Okay. I don't know if we can stress strong enough this question. Nevertheless, why is that important to us? Because, okay, this is about how processes work, but why do we need, as humans in general, to know how time and processes work? Because, humans have a way of nature helping them, at least until
Up to a certain point
of life, when nature withdraws and you face your human destiny, of course. But as long as you are young, let's say, as long as you have biological energy, sexual energy, things are going on well by themselves. And by well, I mean both bad and good. But they are going. Young people do not know that what happens bad in their youth.
It's still
something working. And they find out that when you get old, that thing disappears. It's not going bad anymore. It's not even there. So
nothing happens to me anymore.
Yes.
Nothing good, nothing bad.
Yes, precisely. Because
at least something bad. Let's see it.
Yes, because the energy is not there anymore, and there is no sexual energy, no biological energy. It's withdrawn, and now you are left alone with your human destiny and your lack of will, lack of spirituality. Okay. So what do we need it for? This technology, let's say.
We need it in order to see more clearly our own lives, what happens, because the life is a process. Most of the things that we do are a process. So in order to see more clearly what are we doing, and the simple fact that it will end eventually, this helps us, because if you understand a little bit about the law of octaves, you start to apply this to your own life, you start to see when something begins, you start to see when something falters, you start to see when something ends, you start to see when you should get help from yourself or from outside, and you start to see these things.
Okay,
and the more you see, the more you understand.
There is a
hopefully,
connection between what we can do and what we can see.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily the same if we see something when they actually do something. In fact, most of our experiences, from the spiritual perspective, are happening when we are so powerless that we can overcome our ego, which is usually a veil of illusion that we have about ourselves. And the ego cannot work anymore because we are so powerless that we have to see beyond that. And then we can actually see things, but not because we can do more, because we can do less. So in this respect, the Enneagram, maybe we can see more or understand more about life, about it. Does that not necessarily mean that we can do more about it?
True.
Matter of fact, I think most of humans see the Enneagram where they are so unable to do mechanically that they start to wonder and ask themselves what is going on. So
you know, the point
I don't
mechanically
to suggest that if you learn this,
definitely
you become more able to do, because I don't think
you need will in order to do, right? You need energy inside of you, the life energy, the sexual energy. So, okay, you will see more, and as you have said, maybe you cannot do mechanically, but perhaps you can do in other ways. Perhaps you can become more in order to use your own will. I mean, hopefully. Otherwise, if you see it, okay, that's still something that still counts. I mean, you start to understand the world in which you live, and you start to understand yourself a little bit more. I don't think this is for nothing. I mean, it's still something.
I don't know, is it not? Because we all die.
But
the main problems in spirituality is just one: we all die the same.
Yeah,
which is something that those who deny this are not spiritual at all. They just
we all die. Things. Maybe we
all die the same, and nothing you can do before that changes that you are going to die sooner or later.
True.
So this is what humans ask themselves, especially when they are under their robotic functioning. Which the robot always has to be paid, has to do something useful, utilitarian, and any robot would ask themselves, why should I know this if, one, I'm gonna die anyway, two, I can already do, because they do not make difference between different levels of doing. They think doing is the same, and that is binary, like you can do or you cannot do. This is not how reality operates. You have levels of doing: mechanical doing, willful doing, accidental doing, emotional doing, subconscious doing, external doing through you. I don't know. There are a lot of possibilities of doing, and the robot thinks they're all the same, because the robot is a binary creature.
Yeah,
I can do or I cannot do. Any robot lives under the illusion that they can do. So when you come and try to sell them this idea without further explanation, even the AI could understand this, but they don't, that there are multiple levels of doing, and the level of doing you operate in is not yours. And that you need some kind of information about how things are, how reality is constructed, Enneagram included, in order to understand the position you are in and what you should become more human in the first place. Because any robot thinks they are already human. That's why they are staying robot, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to them and they, you say, look, I have this information. I have something about the world you should know. Why should I know it? I die anyway, 1. 2, I can do anyway without it, okay? You see what I'm getting at? So what do you say to the robot at the end of the day? Because this is the one you need first.
I don't say anything. I just sell it. If we
okay, how do you sell it?
I sell it to the people who are curious about it, who already have a mechanical tendency to know more things, or I sell it to the people who are old enough to have some experience, to have some way of...
Like the rock bottom experience.
Yes, yes, that's true.
When
so a little bit after the nature withdraws and you hit rock bottom and you can do, and maybe you already have good things in life, like you have a family, you have a job, everything is accounted for, you don't need to struggle, you don't need to, all that is by inertia, and they have time and energy to be interested in other things about life. So maybe they will be interested in this. And hopefully by being interested into this, they will become little by little attached to an idea that they could become more, even if they will die after. I mean,
you know, this is the basic principles of the Enneagram. And I wrote it yesterday that it's completely overlooked that the final stage, the final note of the Enneagram does not have to be possible in order for the Enneagram to exist. Like this, like becoming more, maybe it's impossible, but still because of the things you do trying to become more, which is impossible, an entire chain of existent processes triggers.
yeah.
This is the idea of God, after all. Even Andrew Tate, which is the rooster of the world currently, said something interesting, probably stolen from somewhere else, that, or maybe it's his own thinking, because he said, I don't care if God exists or not. What matters is that if you believe God exists, you are going to become a better human. And this is exactly the case. It's not if the higher though exists or it's possible that matters. It's an aspiration towards something which is impossible, maybe it doesn't exist, maybe the soul doesn't exist, maybe afterlife doesn't exist at all. But the fact that you are trying to get to it creates another type of life.
Another quality.
Another level of life.
Yeah.
In quality and experience and level of being, level of understanding, so on and so forth. So I don't think this is a real question, because they will come to you and say nothing exists after death. Okay, but if I try to do this impossible thing to exist after death, my life will be different in a way that you cannot even imagine, because you do not have this aspiration at all. The same with aspiration towards God. Everyone starts in their aspiration towards God with a very false idea of God, like completely wrong idea of God, and most of them stay in that wrong idea of God forever, and they go sideways because of that. But it's the same aspiration that will, by correction, maybe on the Enneagram law, make you in time go towards the real God, let's call it this way, more and more, like correct yourself in your error ways. But everybody starts by an error, because how can it not start with an error about God from the beginning? Like,
it's impossible.
It's impossible.
You need to start from somewhere.
You need to start from somewhere. That somewhere is always a kind of flaw, because you are born out of flaw.
Yeah.